Protection against chemical attack requires training of an alert and vigorous nature. This training must be geared to modern mobile warfare, and above all, it must be realistic. The kind of realism that brings home the grim lessons of actual combat, just like training for commando raids or tank operations. Our troops must be prepared against chemical warfare. The Chemical Warfare School at Edgewood Arsenal, Maryland, has evolved the Gas Obstacle Course, a field exercise designed to give officers and enlisted men experience under live gas combat conditions. The course consists of a strip of wooded terrain along which 6 stations are laid out. Each station confronts the trainee with specific gas combat situations to be engaged and reported upon. A first aid station in the rear of the course handles casualties. One class at a time tackles the course. The men first assemble at the decontamination building, where they are issued protective clothing, impregnated underwear, socks, coveralls, shoes, leggings, hoods, and gloves. It's highly important that every man be covered from head to feet with protective clothing, since the chemicals which are being loaded for transportation to the course are the real McCoy. Before the class arrives at the course, a hot reception is prepared for them, which includes blocks of nitrostarch, as well as other explosives and fireworks used to simulate enemy fire. Mustard is spread about, the kind that doesn't please your palate. Reporting at the course, the class lines up and is divided into squads, which number from 8 to 12, depending on the size of the class. Each squad leader is issued intelligence forms, vesicant detector paper, and a sample bottle for contaminated earth. All branches of the Army, yes, the WACs too, as well as Navy and Marines attending the Chemical Warfare School are sent through this course. This squad occupies slit trenches preparatory to its tactical lesson in attack through smoke, while the other squads start at other stations. The officer in the control tower signals that the course is clear. The instructor blows his whistle, alerting the squad. The first charge of nitrostarch is exploded, and the squad starts its advance. The tactical situation requires the men to move forward by short rushes, through a barbed wire entanglement, and across the abandoned enemy fire trench, noting any points which should be included in their chemical intelligence report. During the trainees' advance, they are subjected to enemy fire simulated by primacord, Dago bombs, firecrackers, rockets, and blocks of nitrostarch. No weapons are carried because of the problem created by the necessity of constantly decontaminating their mechanisms. As the attackers approach the barbed wire, the enemy lays down a blanket of smoke in the path of the advancing squad. To conserve the heavy expenditure of smoke pots, a smoke generator of the type used to screen rear area installations is pressed into service. Its jets are merely directed into the ground instead of into the air. Billowing clouds of smoke quickly reduce visibility, but the attackers plunge on. Gaps in the screen caused by gusts of shifting wind are filled by igniting HC smoke pots. Also, white phosphorus landmines are scattered to add to the density of smoke and the realism of action. CN grenades or pots are tossed into the smoke to teach the class one of the fundamental lessons of chemical warfare, that smoke often masks a gas attack. When the men get a whiff of the gas, they pause to mask before continuing the attack. With smoke and gas hovering in the wooded terrain, with landmines and simulated fire to be avoided, a trainee must be constantly alert if he is to avoid becoming a casualty. Probably in no other type of training is it possible to as closely simulate actual battlefield conditions as in chemical warfare training. This is an infiltration course. Soldier that really infiltrates. And if you don't think so and get careless, chalk up another casualty to the gas obstacle course. Smoke and tear gas shroud the barbed wire before the enemy's abandoned fire trench, and chlorine released from cylinders hovers in the trench itself. But the squad, masked and wary, take the trench. Their objective for station number 1. They reconnoiter the area and proceed to station number 2. Station 2 represents a captured German command post. It is believed that the cellar in which the CP was located contains items of interest to S2. The squad leader moves to the cellar door, followed by his squad. He opens it cautiously. You never know about these booby traps. Two steps inside, he gets a whiff of chloropicrin, yells the alarm, and all mask. The men follow their squad leader into the cellar, looking around carefully. Nazi paraphernalia is seen in the inner room. No, you never know about these booby traps. If this one had been 30 pounds of TNT instead of a detonator and a vial of FS smoke, this squad's reconnaissance would be all over now. Well, that lesson fresh in mind, the squad is much on the alert. They examine all material with extreme care, making mental notes to be compiled when they assemble outside. Moving that shell casing may release pressure on a spring and set off a bomb. So the trainee is extremely careful. There's the button, and the trainee keeps pressure on it until he's sure it's not wired for sudden death. A German gas mask has been left behind. This will be of particular interest to chemical intelligence. As they emerge from the cellar, the men test for gas, close to the ground where the concentration would be heaviest. No gas, so they unmask. The last operation at station number 2 is to consolidate the results of their reconnaissance. Station 3 offers another interesting problem for the squad. The instructor tells them that the area to their front has been an impact point of enemy shelling. A number of duds have been spotted, and these are to be identified with particular care since the enemy has been suspected of using a new agent in an unknown type of shell. While engrossed in their reconnaissance, the squad is given a surprise attack of CND from a chemical cylinder. With masks hurriedly adjusted, the reconnaissance continues until all the duds have been identified and the unknown shell accounted for. The fourth station is actually a continuation of the same general tactical situation as the third. The enemy has shelled the area with a gas as yet unidentified. The job of the squad is to obtain samples of the agent. 7 shell holes are found, and after testing for contamination with detector paper, a sample of the earth is taken for later analysis. Wrapping the bottle in a waxed paper is insurance against possible leakage and a serious burn. Following the boundary line of the course, the squad moves on to Station 5. Passing through an area heavily contaminated by explosions of mustard and Lewisite landmines. The vesicant covers all nearby ground and foliage, but the squad has been safeguarded against it by being equipped with the impregnated clothing. Particles of mustard are particularly evident on the shoes. The squad is shown 4 pens which have been contaminated in varying degrees with mustard. The first pen represents a concentration from airplane spray at medium altitude. The second, a heavier concentration from artillery shelling. The third, a very heavy concentration from bomb bursts or landmines. The fourth has no contamination at all. The squad must identify the degree of concentration in each pen, thereby determining what protective measures would be necessary to move troops through such areas. Shoes are decontaminated in a shuffle box filled with dry mix before the squad moves on to the next station. At the 6th and last station, the retreating enemy has laid down a heavy band of mustard, with the exception of a narrow gap through which the rear guard has withdrawn. CNDM grenades tossed into the wire barrier make it tougher for the squad, who have the mission of breaking through the gap and attacking the retreating foe. A good whiff of this gas makes you feel as if you were going to die, only you're afraid you won't. The squad crawls under low-strung wire, which serves a dual purpose. First, it keeps the trainees low under simulated machine gun fire. Secondly, it provides a difficult situation under which they must mask. Emerging from the gas and wire, they charge the barricades which represent roadblocks. If these boys appear to be the least bit tired by now, remember they've been at it for a couple of hours. Although the entire course is only about a mile long, as you've seen, it's pretty tough going. Cross-country running at dear old Alma Tech had nothing on this kind of work. Here you've got to combine endurance with good common sense, and it doesn't pay to lose your nerve. An abandoned trench affords protection from enemy fire and maybe a moment's rest. But an attack of chlorine gas makes the pause that refreshes nothing but a slogan to the boys. They have to be constantly alert, no matter how tired their minds and bodies. And still more wire to impede the progress of the squad. another wall, they take cover in evacuated enemy foxholes, and the course is completed at long last. After 2.5 hours of grueling work, a checkup at the first aid station reveals 5% casualties. None very serious, but enough to make the men grimly realize they've been through the real thing. The weary condition of those left on the feet is evident. This condition is due for the most part to reduced physical efficiency caused by the gas masks and heavy protective clothing. Chemical intelligence reports are completed. Finally, the entire class assembles for instruction in the proper removal in the field of impregnated clothing. This is important, since great care must be taken to prevent contamination through contact with exposed parts of their protective garments. They've removed all clothing as instructed and bathe under an improvised shower set up in the field. Water is furnished by an M3A1 decontaminating truck. Their personal clothes have been brought to the field from the decontamination building. The stimulating effects of GI soap and cold water make them forget the discomforts of the hours just past. But the lessons of the day remain firmly implanted in their minds. If and when chemical attack comes, they know what to expect and how to meet it.